Hello and welcome.
Go on, carry it on.
To the Miserable Metal Mind podcast. That's it.
Episode number
15?
16.
No, 15.
16.
16.
If you're gonna,
Officially 16.
well, yeah, that's what we're gonna go for. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Shall I carry on?
Brilliant intro, this.
Yeah.
So,
Gonna start again.
all right. Oh, do you want to keep that in?
Back to the drawing board.
No, go on.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Miserable Metal Mind podcast, episode number 16. A podcast involving three metal fans of a similar age and similar heritage. Two of these fans like to listen to new heavy metal music, one of them does not. Once a month we meet up with recommendations for you and him to try to change his miserable metal mind. So before we go on, if you could like and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to us on, this really helps us out. Also, look out for reviews of both live and recorded metal on our website too. Okay, we often have guests helping us in this task, and today is one of those times. I offer up to the metal world the bare-chested singer and guitar player, friend of the podcast and all-round top thrash dude, the leader of the Wolfpack, Mr. Dan Lucas, singer and frontman of one of the guitarists of the British thrash upstarts, Thrasher Wolf.
Hey.
Hey!
Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. As you know, I love you all very dearly.
Welcome to the podcast, Dan.
Thanks so much.
So the first bit that we do is what have you been up to? So what have you got coming Dan? What's on the horizon?
Well, there's plenty on the horizon. First up, we have Thrasher, the sold-out 500-cap venue. Going to be the biggest audience we've ever played to. We're very much looking forward to that. December, we have a show with Acid Rain and Toranaga UK at the Rainbow, I believe, in Birmingham.
It is the Rainbow. I'll be there as well.
Good. I'm very happy to see that. I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Just like playing Acid Rain. They gave me my first ever Vortex at Bloodstock, and I'll never forget that. We've got the Moshville Awards, I think, in February as well. That's going to be a really damn good gig, I think, in Reading. Really looking forward to that. Never played an award show before. And after that, we have a run of about 12 shows for the Inside the Sickened Mind tour, or Tour of the Sickened Mind, as we like to call it now. It's got places like Mansfield in it, and of course the other one we just revealed today was Norwich. I'm afraid I can't say any more other than that because we are still revealing them show by show, but please, if everyone could keep an eye out on the socials for us, you'll see exactly where we're playing, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Okay, we will share the poster also. Okay, Simon, what have you been up to, pal?
What have I been up to since the last time we spoke on a podcast that people might actually hear? Is I have been to 2 gigs, which is unheard of.
Unheard of.
I have been to the cinema twice, which isn't that unheard of, and I've done some races, which everyone's bored of hearing about. So I saw it's been how can I say it, geriatric rock central. I've seen Alice Cooper, who was very good. 2 support bands, one called the Meths, who I liked, who were 2-piece from Essex, and then he had Primal Scream doing it as well, and they were absolutely shite. So it was a weird thing, though, having Primal Scream supporting him.
Yeah, that's a strange choice.
Yeah, it was an odd one.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday I went watching Reef, who supported Deep Purple.
Cut you.
One of them was brilliant, Reef, and then a bunch of older men come out who should have retired a long time ago. In my eyes.
Look at the anger seething in Paul's eyes.
I know. Sorry, Paul. They're fucking horrible. In fact, no, I'm being mean. They weren't horrible. very good musicians, but how can I describe this? The bass player looks like a dishevelled Hulk Hogan. The drummer, who is excellent, I've got to say, Ian Paste, it does look like Pat Butcher. The keyboard player looks like a maths teacher. The singer looks like Uncle Knobhead, who's pissed up in a pub, just suddenly come out to do some karaoke. And the guitar player, Jesus, good guitar player, had a guitar solo, just sounded like a wanker that had turned up at a guitar shop, plugged any guitar into any amp, and just went for that half an hour. Crap. Other than that, they were good.
Did you stay right through to the end?
No, I didn't.
In other words, you didn't
saw
summer wine.
Yeah. I didn't think I was watching them live anyway. No, what do we see? You have 3 songs, guitar solo, 3 songs. He just started a keyboard solo, to which I looked round at my mate and went, "This is a good time to go," and we went.
Where was it at, Simon?
MEN,
Right.
or the AO Arena, I should say.
Oh, is that the new one?
No, I don't. I'm boycotting the co-op.
Why?
I can't say on here for legal reasons. We'll get sued.
All right. So, I've been up to, well, I didn't actually get to any gigs. I obviously didn't get to Paul Di'Arno for obvious reasons. But I've been listening to the new God is an Astronaut album. What a stunning album. I'm sure Paul knows that. You know,
God is an astronaut.
God is an Astronaut, Simon.
Is that the name of the band?
Well, no, it's the name of his dad. Where else is it going to be? Of course it's the name of the band.
Oh,
So,
dear.
have you got an issue with that name?
Well, I mean, it's alright, isn't it?
It's not the
What-
best album title, let's face it.
It's the band.
Oh.
That's the band's name.
What's the album title?
Oh, shit.
If you say self-titled, Dan's right.
No. It is, you know,
It's another one of those, isn't it? What were they called? We are from
It's called
Mars
Eastenders.
and you know us the planet, or whatever they're
I've
called.
heard worse
Called
band
Embers.
names, to be fair, but it's not up there at all with any decent band names.
I quite
No.
like it.
Uh,
The album is called Embers.
Okay, that's a good one.
Embers.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in the fire.
That's an okay title, really, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's very proggy, which I suppose you would get from the name of the band, and it's instrumental as well.
Fucking hell.
You can't.
And it's going to be your album of the month next month.
It is now. Well, I've got mine. I've got mine picked out for next time, and I know Simon's going to hate it, so I'm not going to mention it today. But you almost got Coffin Rot, Simon.
Coffin Rot?
Yeah, because that album's awesome.
That's an awesome name.
Okay, I doubt it. I doubt it. Dan, would you think, you're looking at a bill, you're going, who are we playing with tonight? Coffin Rot. You'd go like, oh, for fuck's sake. I know exactly what I'm getting here.
Right. Well, I've had that a couple of times on a few bills we've played where we're thinking they're a bit heavier than us. I'm scared. What's
Yeah.
happening? But
What were they called? And were they shit?
well, it was a few years ago now. They were called Worship the Sacrifice, and they were very good. So, no.
Neil's thinking, Worship the Sacrifice. That'll be January's album.
No, that's like I said. That's all picked out, and I don't think you're going to like that. But you won't hate it as much as you would have hated Coffin Rot. I was also
Can't be as bad as some crap you've brought.
Like God is an astronaut.
Yeah, but he's not brought that yet. so I'm never going to hear it.
And also Blood Incantation, their new album.
That is phenomenal.
It's a belter of an album, isn't it?
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, even Dan agrees. There you go.
I don't.
But you've not heard it, and you wouldn't either. In fact,
That's fair.
I've got your squeaky voice in my head, and I know exactly what you would say. It doesn't know where it's going. It does one thing, then it does another. I want people to stick in the lane. That's exactly what you'd say.
That's exactly what I don't do. So
Exactly. And that's it. So yeah, I've not had any live gigs tomorrow. Sorry, Saturday I've got Thrasher to see Mr. Dan and a few others, obviously. Yeah, then got a couple in December, and then that's me done. Paul?
Fresh Chester.
Paul's got quite a lot of coming.
I'm still chuckling to myself at Ian Gillan being called a pub singer.
Well, he is.
And that bloke, Roger Glover, and the other bloke, Bob Daisley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember Ian Pace's name.
It's only because you're a drummer.
Yeah.
Listen, Ian Pace, amazing drummer, just looks like Pat Butcher. Can't get away from it.
I'm going to have to find a picture of him, a current picture, obviously.
Well,
He does this
go and
kind
watch him.
of when he's drumming, he kind of blows bubbles, so he's always going.
Is
It's
it?
like Popeye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you what was fascinating about him. He never moved. It looked
Yeah.
like his arms just weren't moving. Just
He's
phenomenal.
a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
absolutely
well,
brilliant.
that breathing thing wasn't just asthma. I mean, he is getting on a bit.
Well,
No, he's always
also, if anybody knows why, there was like 3 or 4 kids backstage, on the stage, but like behind the amps, and I'm thinking, are they the grandparents looking after the kids while their parents have just fucked off for the night?
Just stand
Come
there
on.
quietly while Grandpa plays for an hour.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Come on, go and see Uncle Ian. Go and stay there with Uncle Ian.
Well, if they're not related, it's
Well,
really
I've-
worrying.
Yes. So let's stick with that premise, shall we?
Yes.
I'm curious, Simon. You
Yeah.
obviously paid because I know you went with your good lady to Alice Cooper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I paid that.
I'm assuming that you didn't pay to go and see Deep Purple.
You know me well. No, my best friend is a big Reef fan, so he said, "Do you want to come watch him, Reef?" I
Yeah,
went,
Reef tour all the bloody time. He must have paid
Yeah.
the nose to go and see Deep Purple.
I know, but
Wow.
hey, it's his money.
Yeah.
It's his money, and I'm happy to help him spend it.
Did they go down well?
Reef, yeah,
Yeah.
very well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And they're a really good band. I don't know if anyone's ever seen
I've
them.
seen them at Reading, actually.
But yeah,
Put your
they're brilliant.
hands up, I've just realised, so I've brought up Ian Pace and some current pictures, but I can't confirm or deny whether he looks like Pat Butcher, because I've just realised I don't know who Pat Butcher is. I'm just looking, going, oh, I don't know. Who
Yeah.
is it? Pat Butcher?
Pat Butcher is the woman from EastEnders.
A woman? Oh.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough.
Oh, Frank! That's all Chev used to say.
Oh, you, so is she dead? Are we mocking someone that's dead?
Pat! Frank! Leave it, Frank! Oh, Pat! Pat, my love!
Da, 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 da.
That's it.
So swiftly on.
Can you play that guitar? You should either start a song or finish
on
it.
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, you've got the big finish. Da 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 da. Fuddle-a-dumph.
Stick it in the
That's
quiet
not
bit
into the
and
crowd.
inside the second mind. That'll do.
It's like
Stick it in that quiet bit.
Eastenders to stick in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. Look out for that. So we shall move on quickly to what Paul's been up to, shall we?
Guess what I've been doing?
Photographing some gigs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
About 85.
I don't know, probably since the last time, because it was bloody ages ago.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
But I'll pick one or two highlights. The highlight was probably Gate Creeper, who were fucking immense
They're great.
Yeah.
in the fleece. I spent the entire show on the barrier with my camera clutched up against me as the mosh pit exploded behind me.
Wow.
But they were good. Enforced were excellent. 200 stab wounds were brilliant. But Gate Creeper are a different level when it comes to death metal. They are really superb. And then on Saturday night, I shot Chris Holmes from Wasp.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the pictures, yeah.
Did a full hour and a half Wasp set with a band that he put together, which lead singer is a chap from a UK band called Wicked Jackals, who I saw a couple of weeks ago as well. And it was excellent, sold out, 200 people in the Patriot. It was absolutely rammed. Yeah, so loads of good stuff. And
What albums is he playing
first
from?
two, it's all first two.
First two.
Yeah,
So he must have permission. He must have wrote them songs, or he must have been co-wrote
I'm
those
sure
songs.
he was co-writer
Yeah.
on most. I think. Yeah,
Yeah, but you can play them, man. You can play any song you fucking want
Yeah.
live.
yeah.
I
Live he
suppose
doesn't
so,
need
you can.
permission. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't play the EastEnders theme though. Which
He's Mr. Trick.
Miserable bastard.
the album that I've been listening to a lot, which comes out on Friday with the reviews written, I'm going to put up online later on, is the new Sergeant Thunderhoof album.
Oh, have you reviewed it?
Yeah,
Thank-
goes to Baden Hill.
Thank
It is
God for that.
beautiful. It is beautiful.
I'm looking forward to that.
Very, very good. In amongst everything else I've been listening to, that one is superb.
Marvellous. I haven't heard it yet. Oh, I'm excited.
So the big one then is tomorrow night, off to London to shoot Sepultura for the final time. So that should be quite good fun.
Nice.
Get Hammersmith.
Why the final time?
It's their last
That's
tour.
it.
Oh, they'll be fucking back.
Not in that.
I mean, that with Max and Ego.
Yeah, not in this form. That's it.
Yeah, the player
No,
said that, didn't they?
no. Yeah.
They did actually, and I believe
They
it.
all say it. They all say it. They've got to fucking die not to play live again.
Well,
Oh,
like
who
Paul
did
says,
that?
I think Max is coming back, and Max and Igor.
We'll see.
When-
But their set list is pretty meaty, so.
When
Is
Slade
it?
last come to London, I was well pissed off. 'Cause it was supposed to be their last ever show ever, and I was like, yes, this is going to be a talking point. I've got this is my like badge award thing. One of the last people to see Slayer ever, and I was like, look, we went to it, like really good show, amazing time, Obituary, Anthrax, and Lamb of God, superb. And the very next day, they announced they were headlining Download, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Can you just not give me one thing?
Yeah. No, they can't.
No.
And now to make it even worse, the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're happy about it either, from what I'm reading. It seems like they're all being forced into it. Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. There's a bit of money going around, and to be honest, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I would quite happily do the same thing if someone waved a few bills in my face. You know, I would do
Yeah.
exactly the same thing.
So you'll do anything for money?
But I
Yes.
won't do
I
that.
will sell out like nobody else's business, and I don't even care.
Oh, right. Good.
Good job,
I just want to know
Anthony.
this before Saturday.
That's right. We're doing book covers next.
Do you take cash or card?
We take both, as a matter of fact. It's all money to us.
Right. Good.
We're doing the
Don't worry
EastEnders
about it.
theme tune, and
You'll get nothing
and
off
Battle of
Simon.
Hell, but in drop C tuning.
Good. You'll get now from me. It's another free gig at the minute
No, it's
for
not.
me.
I bought you a ticket. It's not going to be free.
Don't worry. I'll send you the money.
Eh. Right, we'll go on to the albums then, shall we?
Why
Yeah.
not?
Okay.
Let's get these crap albums out of the way.
So,
Warning. Please take all negative comments in the tongue-in-cheek manner they are intended. Basically, don't be a dick.
We said we go to Paul first, I believe.
Okie doke. So I chopped and changed my mind a bit on this.
You
but
did.
I ended up with an album by a UK band. Band are called Demon. The album's called Invincible. They're an up and coming band. They've only been together since 1979. And they were part of the, I suppose they were on the kind of edge of new wave of British heavy metal because they never really fitted into the whole scene. But formed in 79, first album Night of the Demon, 1981, followed by The Unexpected Guest in 1982, and they had this kind of imagery which was a little bit more kind of black and satanic, but then when you listen to them play, they were really melodic and quite cultured. And they moved away from that with their third album, The Plague, in 1983, which is really progressive and well worth a listen if you like that kind of thing. So Simon, you steer clear of it. Anyway, moving on. This is their first. Invincible's their first album for 8 years, since 2016, I think it was, when they released Cemetery Junction. This album has got amazing artwork. The artwork is phenomenal on it. It's kind of like a sci-fi Egyptian pharaoh thing going on, but it's brilliant. I expect you lot all to hate this album, which is partly why I picked. Because the selection that we've got today, the one thing that we haven't had a lot of so far on this pod is any kind of melodic, hard rock, progressive stuff. So it's quite light. It's not Gatecreeper for a start, but it's quite contemporary, despite the fact that it's really old in a lot of different ways. Lead singer Dave Hill is 77. Saw him up at the Patriot a couple of weeks ago. Played an hour and a half set. Absolutely phenomenal. Can still hit all the notes. I just love this album. I think it's got loads going on. I think the production's superb. I think keyboards give it a real thick sound. There's plenty of heavy riffs in there. I think the vocals are good. And I think it's just a glorious, melodic, progressive hard rock album. The track I'm going to pick for our podcast playlist is called Hole in the Sky. And I don't care what you fuckers think of it.
Well, shall I go first then?
Go on in.
Well, as I was listening to it, I was trying to work out what genre this could be. I wasn't too sure. So I just checked on Spotify, to be honest, what they called it. And they said boring. But then I just looked on Apple Music just to get confirmation, and they said boring as fuck. And I can't argue with it. It's just, you're right, Paul. It's awful. There's just nothing in that for me. Yes, the veterans, fair play for still going at it. Fair play for all for doing what they're still doing. But I had to edit it from my list of albums. I will never didn't want.
Oh dear!
I didn't want it anywhere near me. So yeah,
it's got the Weezer treatment.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
The 10-foot barge pole treatment.
It's a 10-foot barge pole. Yeah. Well, I think we should categorise it as that. But yeah, not for me. Although the album cover was good, so we got a positive.
Dan, what do you think?
I had the unfortunate pleasure of listening to this album when I was actually on a day when I was craving something quite a bit heavier. So it didn't. Where I was really looking at a band name called Demon, thinking that's a pretty heavy title. That it's like Satan, and you're thinking this is going to be really damn heavy, and it's going to be really like. When I got into it and I heard the first couple of riffs in the first track, I was thinking, it gets heavier than this, right? It must do, surely. And so I had a little look at exactly what they were about, and I took the time to sit through the album and I gave it a little bit of a going over, and I can already tell that there was nothing really jumping out at me, to be honest. I could see why it was good, especially for a new wave of British heavy metal album, why it would catch some people's attention. But then I got myself thinking, well, if they were sort of riding that wave with the likes of Iron Maiden and all the like Saxon and all those other sort of new wave of British heavy metal bands, why weren't they bigger? And I don't know, just hearing the album, it was missing something for me. It was missing an oomph, something that I really needed on that day. And it's not to say I wouldn't listen to it again, and maybe something would, maybe I'd ease into it possibly, because some albums need that. You need to listen to it a couple of times for it to sort of really melt into you. But in my first listen, it wasn't for me. I would give it another go maybe on a day where I was fancying something a bit more mellow, a bit more melodic, like I don't know, like Thunder or something. But on that day, no, not for me.
Paul, why have they not made it huge, or certainly bigger than they are? Well, would you guess?
Why have thousands of bands that were in the new wave of British heavy metal movement not made it? Because
yeah, good point.
I think they were kind of damned a little bit by the fact that they picked the name Demon, as you say. It conjures up something which they're not. They're a lot more melodic than you might expect. They also lost their guitarist very early. Mel Spooner, the original guitarist, died of cancer in the 80s, so they lost one of their main songwriters early on. I think the problem with them, to a lot of people, is that they're quite formulaic. They do a lot of the choruses kind of repeat ad nauseum in a lot of songs, and if that kind of irritates you, then it's going to drive you mad, because they do. I was listening to it yesterday, and a lot of the songs do repeat. But it either gets you or it doesn't, and obviously got me. I've got a long history with this band from when they were first out. I can't see it being anything that would attract someone like Dan, who's a bit younger than us, because there's no heritage there with him, and they're not particularly prominent now. They're in the twilight of their career. I just think they were kind of misled in terms of they should never have been in that bracket, but so many bands were labelled part of the movement. I mean, and then you look at Maiden and they say, well, we weren't part of it, and then they clearly bloody were. But there's only, like, if you think about it genuinely, the bands that were in that movement, there's probably only 2 or 3 that really came through it. There's not many bands that were really in it.
No.
I suppose it's like when someone comes out at the grunge time, they're going to get stuck with the grunge tag. Yeah, they're not grunge.
Whatever is the popular thing at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to me that there was some, after hearing about them, there was some sort of like image thing going on, where maybe what you were seeing and what you were perceiving the band to be wasn't exactly what you were hearing when the music came out. Because obviously, you might want to hear something a bit heavier than, when you hear a band and the name's called Demon and they've got sort of like a black metal Venom-esque sort of makeup thing going on that's looking a bit more black metal. And I don't know, maybe could be an image thing, but that's just coming from my understanding of it.
Yeah.
So the big one. What about the miserable fucker? What do you think?
Well, I'm with you two, really. Yeah. It's not for me. It starts off horrid. My notes say 1 and 2 crap. Then I actually thought it kicked into some decent songs after that. But the mid-level, aren't they? It's if they've been around since '79, they've done well to get to now to still be doing what they do, aren't they? So some people must like them. If they've carried on recording, touring, releasing albums, and they're still doing it now, then I mean, there's certainly an audience somewhere for them, and hats off to them for that, because not everyone gets to do that. Some only get 1 or 2 albums, and never heard of again. I actually wrote down how old are this band, because it felt old as well. It did feel like it was a bunch of old men making metal music to me. And then the song Invincible, if we heard that somewhere, because it felt like I knew it. So is it an old song that they've played? It's not a cover, but I was singing along to it. I'm thinking, hey, do I know this song? I even Googled it, and I couldn't find anything.
Look at you
That's
doing
the magic of the
research.
demon, see? Get into your head.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's all I've got to say about it. It's just ploddy. Just plods along. Nothing special
I hate it
at all.
I hate it when me and you agree. Scares me.
I know. Sorry. But, yeah, it wasn't brilliant. There's some decent songs on it, but it feels like a tired album to me by a tired band. So that's what I thought.
Okay.
But listen, 1979, 2024.
Yeah, hats off to
They
that.
fucking made a good crack of it, haven't they?
Hats off to that, certainly.
Yeah, it's better than I don't know.
Better than you.
Selling
Better than you.
carpets for a living,
you
isn't
packed in
it?
for a couple of it. Yeah, you packed in, didn't you? So, yeah, showing you that you
Yeah.
can carry on.
But we all fell out.
Oh, yeah.
That unlike Slayer, we fell out, but no one offered us money to get back together. So yeah, there you go.
Right, well, we'll go for that's a major thumbs down on that one, I feel.
Yeah.
Right, let's go for mine then, shall I? I have been a fan of this band for a long time. This trio from Stockholm know how to make heavy metal. I bring you Sunraven from the awesome Grand Magus. This is the band's 10th album, and in my opinion, the best since Hammer of the North in 2010. A band known for their excellent songwriting skills, excellent sing-along sections, excellent heavy metal, and talking of sing-along sections, the part in Hammer of the North, if you see them live and you do the sing-along section in there, it's just goosebumpy. It's fantastic. This is heavy metal at its best. Led by the legend JB, this band, just for me. They can be atmospheric when needed, sing-along when needed, head-bangingly good when needed. If this does not tickle Simon in any way at all, I'm going to be pissed off with you.
Well, get ready.
Go for Paul first.
Oh, he doesn't like it.
I like Grand Magus. Seen them loads of times. I was punching the air once I'd finished photographing them at Bloodstock this year. The challenge for me, this is a band that, yes, they play traditional heavy metal. But they seem to also have they must be one of the most eco-friendly bands on the planet, because they recycle the same fucking riff and use it in a slightly different way on 10 tracks and churn it out as a new album, and then they wait a couple of years and they bring the same riff out and they churn it out again, and it's exactly the same album again. And the problem I have with Grand Magus is that they probably would say, I mean, look at what I've just selected as a choice, I'm probably pot calling the kettle black, but they've churned out the same album for the last decade, if you ask me.
I can see that. I don't
The
agree, but I can see
earlier
why you'd say
albums,
that.
Hammer of the North and that had a little bit more to them. The really early stuff had something about them. But the last 3 or 4 albums, you can put it on, it's perfectly enjoyable. I've listened to this several times. I had it on when it first came out. The first Grand Magus album I haven't bought. And I had no intention of buying it. It's perfectly fine. It's very listenable. But it is the same song over and over again.
Okay. So then we've got Paul's opinion. What's your opinion, Dan?
Right. So my first opinion was this sort of. It was like Soundgarden meets a Mon Amarth in terms of imagery and sort of like that sort of the sort of more droning vocals really had sort of like a Chris Cornell sort of thing going on for me. As a person who's not really heard much of Grand Magus, I actually quite enjoyed what I heard. But I think that's because I probably haven't listened to any other albums or songs by them, so I wouldn't know any reused riffs if I heard one. But from what I was hearing, I actually did quite enjoy it. There was a certain amount of melody to it. They weren't afraid to be a bit different here and there. There was a touch of variety. A band after my own heart, really. I quite enjoyed it.
No, we'll take that. Okay. Simon, are you going to piss me off? Well, more than normal.
Oh, I hope. No, I don't think I am. These were not what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be heavier and a bit more aggressive. So when you said we're listening to Grand Magus, I think I put some flippant comment on, like, not this shit or something. I can't remember what I said.
I just thought it was your normal copy and pasted comments.
Well, that can be right. But they're not... I thought it might be a different band because I thought I'd heard some of their stuff before and it was a lot more extreme than what it actually is. So with that, I thought they've got some good riffs, good beats, traditional metal, I have to say. They've got a late 80s, early 90s feel to them. Enjoyed it, yeah. No real. But I thought I was going to be in for, like, you know, a screaming.
What made you say that? From the album cover, the album title, the band name?
Well, I don't look at album covers. Sorry for Dan and that great artist you've used on your album.
Anyway, Neil, was that your best Father Christmas impression when you heard Simon talk about Grand Magus? I was like, ho, 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 ho.
Hey, guess what? I'll be cutting that out.
They're slower than I thought they'd be.
Right.
Yeah, as well. So the song Grendel, a little bit cheesy.
They are, well, I would say almost all the tunes are a little bit cheesy.
Yeah. But other than that, I didn't have any major issues with them.
Right. I'm going to take that as a win.
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah,
Go on,
especially
I'll
from
give you that
thee.
one.
I'm having that as a win. Right, we all done with that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right then, Dan, would you like to introduce to us?
I would just like to say, though, I'm never going to listen to them again.
Right.
Grand Megs, I'm never going to listen to him again.
But
So, whilst we say it's a win, I'm not going to listen to him again. So, like,
it's
I
a
don't
win
mind
from
it.
you, though.
But it's,
Comparatively.
But
yes.
is it a win? Is it a win? If I've just got... It's like watching a band, right? You go watch a band, you think, oh, they were decent, they were good. But then you never think of them again.
You
never
no, but
listen
you
to any of their songs
never
again.
think of them again.
Yeah, but that's not a win, is it?
Has any we've been doing this for what, a year and a half now? Has any band that anyone has brought to this made you go, oh, I'm going to put that on tomorrow? You don't what?
Yeah. And it's the band of the podcast no one will ever hear. I prevail.
Oh.
I'm gutted
Yeah.
that comment won't go out.
You've got to keep that in now.
Oh no, that won't
I've
can.
gone-
But yeah,
Listen, I've gone through the
Honestly?
catalogue. Yeah,
You were telling me Sum 41 next.
hey,
I don't mind some 41.
I was expecting Natalie Imbruglia.
Well, listen, we all know my love for Natalie
Natalie on bongo.
is unrivaled. You've never seen Natalie Imbruglia live.
Am
You
I
can't
mocking?
comment.
Am I mocking
She
you?
is.
Am I mocking
amazing.
you?
Felt
That's
like
just
it.
that's just my normal phrase. That's my normal tone of voice. No, we all like stuff that we're not allowed to like.
Yeah.
Right. So, Dan, would you like to introduce
Dan.
the album that you are bringing for
Dan.
us?
The album I'm bringing to the table for you guys is my band's personally recently released second album, Inside the Sickened Mind. And I don't think I need to tell you any more about that because you all know it anyway.
You've got to have a bit more behind it. You can't leave us just for talking and selling it for you.
Firstly, before we
Oh.
go any further, can I just say it's nice to have a band on and they're bringing their own album.
Well, I've got
Right,
to promote it
someone
somehow, mate.
else's.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. And it's also nice that you've got an internet connection that works.
it's rare in this room, mate. Trust me on that one. It's very rare in this room. But yeah, the album had a bit of a difficult production when we were going through it. Because half our lineup pretty much left during the first tour when the album started its production. So not only did we have to worry about getting a new lineup in, we had to teach them the old stuff so we could keep gigging, and then get them to basically bum rush learning the second album so we could get in and actually have it recorded and released at a semi-decent time. So 4 years rushed production. I'm extremely proud of what we have actually ended up with, and the way the songs have actually come together.
Before we move on to Neil and Paul's loving, can I just ask a bit of
Absolutely.
history about the band then? So we've met before when we did whatever that festival was called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moshing the
Is-
roof on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that the lineup now? That's the lineup that's recorded.
Yeah.
The album. Why did the other guys leave? What did you do to them?
Well, mate, one of them downstairs in my dungeon already chained up to the wall. And no.
Yeah.
One of them got fired during the first tour for
Right.
conspiracy against the pack leader.
So is he now started his own band and is he trying to rival you? Like
Oh no, he
Metallica,
wanted us to go
Megadeth
indie.
type of
He
situation.
wanted us to be an indie band.
Right.
And I
Right,
remember when
okay.
we did the first gig without him, we got Chris from Hellfected as cover because it was during the first Trifecta tour. And I remember the drummer, Mark, at the time, after the set was done, he looked at me and he went, "Dan, is that what bass actually sounds like?" And
You should have all walked out in like Cagoules and Flair Bet.
we're not from
Bell
Coronation
Flares.
Street, mate.
Eastenders, isn't it?
Yeah, EastEnders. Da, 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 da.
So he left. Yeah. So had you already had one
Yeah, we
album?
only had the album out. I don't think we'd even released 1,000 Eyes at that point. The drummer left
Right.
of his own accord later because most of the time he was a very busy guy. He was a drum teacher as well as doing other things in other black metal bands. He was extremely talented. Like this guy was able to paradiddle this and diddle twiddle that, and this guy had some of the tightest playing I've ever seen in a drummer ever. But
Yeah, well, we've all got that.
exactly, there you go. But he was.
Well, the tightness. Yeah, you've got that.
Yes, he has.
Everything.
I'm especially tight myself. But we had to talk through his PA to get him to do gigs. So it was becoming increasingly tougher for us to actually play with him because he was always busy, and he felt it was just easier for us if we were to find a new drummer in that time. But
Right.
he stayed with us until we got a new drummer. So I'll give him all the credit under the sun. He was excellent while he was with us.
Right. And did anybody else leave? Or is
That was pretty much it. I mean, we had a couple of stand-ins over the years,
right.
but nothing I'd say that rival the lineup we have now, which it's feeling good. We're getting more professional as things are going on. We're getting tighter. We've got a more of a tighter rehearsal schedule. Even the songs we're doing for the second album now, we'd rehearsed them twice before we did the album release show, and somehow it all pulled together. Like because we've got this sort of mindset now. We've got this this sort of like very tight and very focused rehearsal scheme now, where we rehearse before every single show that we do. We have at least 3 hours in the studio to get us limbered up to learn the things that we're not comfortable with. It makes learning actually really easy. So we do the fiddly bits at home and then go and meet each other and sort everything out.
So you don't shy away from the technical faster bits. It's like we'll get your teeth into this and we're going to do it live.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when you're doing things live, even if you mess up, it kickstarts you into doing it right, because like this is the environment. You might as well go in deep and work with it. Like there's still a song on the second album I'm still shitting myself on playing live for the first time. That's because the solo is maybe a bit.
Is that the Eastenders one?
Yes, I can't do it. It's just not happening. No, it's
Which track's that, Dan? Because I'm going to watch out.
Hanging House. Hanging House. Right. The solo in that involves some sweeps. I'm trying to work out a decent technique to look a little bit flashy, but at the same time be tight as well. But when we did it in rehearsal last time, it seemed to go really well, despite the fact we'd only like properly played it at home like once each, and then just come together and did it. So with any luck, we'll actually be able to do it either the Acid Rain show or even Thrash Chester. So look out for that, because it's a fucking good song, and that's one of my favourites off the album.
So the songs on this second album, have you been playing them live, or have you just started playing them live? Or have you been playing them live
GBH and Final Act of Aggression, we'd been playing a lot. GBH, I think we'd been playing since Christmas 2022. So we know that one at the back of our hands, and it always goes down well during a live set. Final Act of Aggression, we've been playing that one for about 6 or 7 months. We wanted to make sure it was tight before we did it, because it's one of those, really sort of accent-heavy songs. So it needs to be tight, and I think we've pretty much nailed that for now.
And then the actual recording of the album, how long has that took? Have you done it yourselves, or did you get a producer?
It took us roughly about 3 years from the first time going into the studio to actually coming out of the studio and having a finished product, or nearly finished, needing to be sent off to be like mastered or something. We used a professional producer, Andy Brooke, who's currently on tour with Francis Rossi. So I can't really grab him for comment at the moment. No, he's a superb engineer. He's been with us since the very beginning. He did the first album, he did 1,000 Eyes, and he stayed patient enough to deal with my annoying schedule when it came to recording the second album. So he's been instrumental in sort of helping me understand how records are recorded, how things work, how mixing works, how mastering works, and just how to act professionally under I'd say quite a stressful situation. But he always seemed to enjoy working with us anyway, so he'd even chime up with and I was going to say that he even chimed up with a couple of little ideas of how to improve the solos I brought in as well. So
well, that's good. That's important. It is.
But that's where a good producer helps you, though, where they just say, if you just change this or you try this, it'll make that bit easier. Or have you ever thought about doing this?
Absolutely, he was instrumental in I'd say some of a couple of the better sections of the album. At the end of Hanging House, when the harmony comes in, that sort of and the harmony comes in like halfway through that. It was his idea to do that. Originally, I had it planned as an octave, so it'd be a lot higher, but it sounds so much better as a as a harmony. So I got to thank him for that, and now that's inspired me to do harmonies in more of my work in future as well. So he's excellent, Andy, and even if we are trying to be a bit more cost effective with album 3 now, because it cost a lot of money, album 2, it really did. And obviously we're better musicians now than we were, so we're trying to do a lot more ourselves and be a bit more cost effective. We'll still bring it to Andy so that he can make it perfect. That's not going to go out the window at all. We're still going to be doing certain parts with Andy as well, but he's been instrumental in a lot of my growth as a musician, and I give him all the credit under the sun.
Yeah.
Right. And you've done well to keep the sound the same over the 3 years, because you'd think certain songs you recorded 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then last year, there'd be a bit of sound difference between them all, with, I don't know, changing of amps, positions, levels, and all that. So the actual sound of it is consistent.
It's actually quite impressive the way we did that. Because I thought, you know what, to keep it consistent, I know it's going to be difficult with all the lineup changes. Let's do it instrument by instrument. So I had 2 days in the studio just doing all the rhythm guitar work, and then Ray did all his bass at home and just sent it into Andy, and Andy chopped it up and made it perfect and got it all in line. So everything was pretty much done instrument to instrument, layer by layer, so that if there was any sort of change done, it would be something in the mixing that could be reversible, that we could fix if we needed to. So we needed to play it quite smart, and I feel like I made the right call there.
So with that in mind, then, how did you do the drums? Because usually the drummer would need at least, at worst, a rhythm guitarist to put his tracks down.
I did the rhythm guitars, and no, I think I did the rhythm guitar. No, I did the rhythm guitars and the vocals first, so that they'd have a lot more to work from.
Right.
And of course, they were listening to the guides, and then they were listening to the main things I put down. And Zach just comes in, and within a couple of days, despite the fact he didn't have a lot of time to learn the entire second album, he smashed it out in 2 days. And Andy was like doing all the mixing and stuff afterwards. So that worked really well.
So you played them. You were played through what, along to a click or a tempo. Then he'd come in and play along to that click and guide track as well.
Every single riff I write down, I make sure I've got the tempos now, because of course, when I first started, I didn't know what tempo was, and so I just sort of wrote a riff and thought, that's good. And then when you take it into the studio and Andy tells you that your time signature is 31/6, or something stupid like that, and my drummer's looking at me with this face like, it sort of helped me realise that maybe I should be a bit more careful with the riffs that I write, or at least be a bit more considerate of my fellow musicians when they have to record over.
Well, you're the first person ever.
Well, even inside the Sick of Mine, there's a section that goes 9, 9, 9, 10, 9, 9. And I remember we've got the time signature back for that, because Zach was just learning that bit inside the Sick of Mine. It's the creepy bit in the middle of inside the Sick of Mine, for that sort of inside his head bit. And Zach was trying to learn it, and I was like, Dan, I recorded this. I know it was about a couple of years ago, but I can't remember. I'm trying to practice this, but what the hell is the tempo? And I just sort of like, shit, I don't know. Andy, help. And he went. He came back. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's 3 lots of 9 and then a 10, just because you like being awkward." I was like, "Thanks, man. Here you go, Zach. Into that." And he just went,
"Yeah,
Dan, you're a fucker." I went, "Yeah, yes, I
am." Paul, have you noticed Simon getting engaged here with a
I know, I'm
with a
just
band?
letting him roll. That's why I turned my mic off.
Yeah, well, not just for me, because obviously I don't know.
No, listen, I'm complimenting you.
Our listeners don't know them.
Yeah,
so
I'm loving it.
You just wanted to know.
You've usually gone by now, to be honest. So.
I know. Well, I just wanted a bit of background before I. Just learning him. Go on, Neil. What do you think of the album? Let's get on.
Well, I've got to be honest, and Dan knows this. I like the album very much, and it's certainly not boring like Paul's album. It's got lots of essential thrash bits, speed, aggression, technical sections. I don't know if Simon's going to mention this. I'm not too sure about the ballad either.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But that's all personal. I have seen a couple of these tracks live, which we have just mentioned. I'm looking forward to it at Thrashchester, and I would just want to say congratulations on the album because I think it's a very, very good album.
Thank you.
What about Paul?
I did my review for UK Thrashers when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyed it. Haven't played it a huge amount since, but that's partly because of the volume of stuff that comes my way rather than through choice. I have got a physical copy. I have a little note from Dan, which was very kind, and I will always have a physical copy. I played it a couple of times over the weekend just to refresh my memory on it, and what I like about it is that you're not afraid to try something different. So while I fucking hate horns,
that's all right, mate. Don't worry. We actually hate it now too as well. So don't expect a few.
Oh, is that true?
I actually applauded you for doing it, and I think it's worth having a go because
I agree with
why
that.
the fuck not? You know?
Yeah.
I can't stand the little voices on Scream Till Death either. Help me! Help me! You're making me puppet! Or whatever it fucking is. I can't cope with that either. I mean, that's almost a bloody shuffle forward when I hear that in the car. But
Well,
again,
I don't mind that, so that's what. That's all right.
it's something different. I think the constructive criticism, if you like, is that the more I've played it, the more you've got that curse of a thrash band where I think you're in real danger as well as developing, which is what you've done. And I think what other people have said is right in that you've kept that raw sound. There's a couple of times when you've drifted towards the kind of Metallica, Megadeth, more commercial side of it, which I don't particularly like in your sound. I like you visceral. I like you really nasty and fast. And I think it's like what for me, what's really interesting is what comes next, because you've got 2 albums out now. This one has moved on from the first one. Certainly the production is better. I listened to them back to back on the weekend, and the production is much better on this one, which is where I'd expect you to be. I mean, that's natural. That's the development of the band and learning and everything else, and probably a few more quid to spend on it as well. So
very much so.
Yeah, but I think it's what I really want to see is it's almost like I want to see where you are before you get there, because I want to see where the progression of you is.
Well,
because technically you guys are excellent, and I think the challenge for me with all of you with the kind of trifecta thing, it was great while it lasted, but for me you've got to move away from that now, because I think that's holding you guys back. I think you need to develop and push on in a different not in a different direction. I don't want you to do a Lost Society or something shit like that.
we're not ultra-violent.
Yeah, I want new metal next time, please. But I think, how do I put this without slagging off? Because I know everyone in the band. It was a little bit too pally. It was too much of you having a great time, which you were, and you're fucking young and you're doing it. And I don't want this to sound like a grumpy old bastard, because that's what I am. But I think there needs to be development for you guys to push on, and whether that means playing with different bands like you were talking about earlier on, whether it means playing different places. I think you can go and play Thrashchester. I think that's fine. That is a genre-specific event. But I think to go forward, my view is that you need to be out with maybe more mainstream or maybe more extreme bands and getting the exposure away from just the thrash people.
No, I would definitely like to do that, and I've spoken to Neil about the directions that I want us to take. I mean, even musically, we've been talking about the directions we can take with even album 3, taking the sort of more constructive criticisms that we got from some of the reviews. And our view at the moment is that, one, we are not ready for a real ballad yet. It's been proven over the course of the years that both the ballads we've done have been Marmite at best. And I am going to turn around and say that the Haunted was actually quite boring, even structurally, and it's not fun to play at all. So we're going to, for album 3, we've decided we're going to move in a more visceral direction, as you quite said. We're not going to lose that Thrasher Wolf touch, so there's still going to be that essence of variety. If that's always something I've enjoyed in an album, is having different flavors. It's like Neapolitan ice cream. You like all 3 flavors. Do you know what I mean? If you're just going to pick the one, then why did you buy Neapolitan in the first place? So
I like that analogy. I like that.
So the stuff we're going to do is it's either going to have that sort of like there is going to be a GBH element to a couple of the songs, that sort of meaty hook that does stick in your head, because I think that's a very very important aspect of creating an album, is having those hooks, is having the catchiness, things that people are going to actually remember. We'll just stick with that, but then focus more and have more of what people have said that we do so well, and then refining that to make sure that the songs aren't so long and drawn out. That's a big plus for us. We need to make sure we have some shorter songs on there, as a maybe one long-ish song as well, because I know I do like my narratively driven songs, where although some people have said that Inside the Sick of Mind wasn't for them, not the album but the actual final track, it's a narratively driven song where things happen with the music to tell you exactly about what's happening with the story behind the narrative, the context of the actual song itself, which
I quite like you bookending with the longer songs. I don't mind that at all.
But I'd say 2 long songs on an album is a bit too much. So Scream Till Death and Inside the Sick of Mind, 2 quite lengthy songs, maybe is a bit too much. So maybe have one longer track on there, have a couple of the more catchier, meatier songs, and then the rest of them being quite a bit more visceral, still with that essence of melody and some intros, and never really losing that Thrasher Wolf touch, just streamlining exactly what we're good at. Yeah. So we've got a good idea of exactly where we want to head for album 3.
Yeah.
Well, those. Sorry, Paul.
No, I was going to say, go on.
I was going to say those 2 tracks you're talking about, at 6.5 minutes and 7.5 minutes. They're not really long songs. We put Simon through some long songs.
So wait till we have Blood Incantation next month.
One thing I've learned is that not a lot of people have that amount of attention span. And you only can...
I love a long song. As long as it's good enough to get my teeth into, and it goes different places. And like you say, the last one.
I think we only have to look at the Spotify streams to see what songs have become the most popular, and that has been a little avenue for us to see which songs have done the best. Consumed, for instance, is now the highest streaming song on the entire album. Even Consumed, the sort of like really sort of chunkier, heavier, groovier. Which I must admit surprised me a little. Americans seem to love it, which is what we found on our on our streaming numbers. But it's taking the essences of what we had on album 2 and album 1, and streamlining that and focusing on what we do the best, and then making that the filler of the Thrasher Wolf sandwich.
Yeah. I think I was just going to say, I mean, for me, the challenge with any thrash band is to do something that is slightly different, because I don't quite get it with a lot of the other genres. Like, if you listen to, we talked about Gatecreeper earlier on, who do nothing that is new, but they do it in such a way that it sounds fresh and exciting. I've listened to so many thrash bands who are just recreating 1986 or whatever, or trying to, or probably 1984 actually, because I don't think many thrash bands these days could create the quality of 1986 when we think about it. But it's like anything else. We talked about Demon being boring, and they probably are, and they're probably not doing anything new. Neither are Grand Magus. So it's the bands that like Blood Incantation who do something which makes you sit there and go, "What the fuck did they just do? Holy shit!" And then it's going down this avenue, and then it's going down there. That again, this is probably saturation for me in what listening to 400 albums a year or whatever it is that I review and whatever else we listen to in the periphery is what can really grab us and stand out. What will make that top 10, that top 20 album, which will make me go out and buy it and stuff like that. And that's the challenge for any band, not just you guys. But I think you've got the potential to do it. So I'm really, well, I'm a supporter, so I'll be keen to see how it goes. But I think the thrash movement itself, I think it's really difficult for me to think of a thrash band in the last decade that have really grabbed my attention in the way that maybe some of the other, like I can list the odd black metal band or the odd death metal band or even a progressive band or whatever that I go, right, well they're taking a different direction. Thrash is, I'm struggling with thrash at the moment a little bit, but maybe I'm just not in the right place.
I think it's
Well, we put it off. We've put it off for a while.
Oh God.
Here we go.
Come on, Simon.
My only note on this that I wrote down when I was listening to the album, and I've listened to it twice, so take from that what you will, because some people have only listened to it once and never gone back. I wrote down pure thrash. That's my main note. But how I feel about the album and songs on the album are kind of how I felt about Imperium. So musically, musicianship, songwriting, really good. I can't fault any of it. It's like I said to Imperium, and I've still not seen them. So Saturday, I'm killing two birds with one stone, really. So I can't wait to see you and them live, because on the album, for me personally, it was just, it's good. It didn't grab me, but I want to see you live because I think it'll be a different energy that comes across.
Yeah, definitely.
Live. That. And then, like I'm going to do with Imperium, I'm going to go back and then listen to the stuff again, because I'll have a different impression, I think, then. When we were talking about recording before, the two things I take away from when I listen to the album is when Paul's going on about the 1984 sound and 86 sound, it does feel like you've took the bass, dropped the bass down a bit in the mix, and then scooped the mids up. Have you done that? Or
I couldn't tell you, mate.
Is that a subconscious thing?
I personally couldn't tell you, to be quite honest, because it was a sort of like,
right.
There's the mix. We told Andy exactly what we sort of liked. We wanted that higher, we wanted that a bit lower. And when we got to an acceptable thing, we thought, that's quite good. And then we sent it off to be mastered. So I couldn't quite tell you what Andy's done to it.
So if that was the sound that you kind of said, then I think that's kind of what he's done a bit. I personally would have liked a bit more. I mean, I'm always going to say a bit more kick in the mix and a bit more bass in the mix as well. It would have just, for me, given me a bit more of the chesty. You can hear the bass and the guitars really thumping.
We actually had the bass and the kicks for the drum. We actually did have it quite a bit, actually a bit louder. I'd say on like the second to final step, but the more I focused on the kick drum, the more I realised it sounded a bit Call of Duty hitmarkery.
Right.
And the more I heard that, the more it actually annoyed me. Zach liked the actual tone of the kick drums, but I thought, okay, right, well, he likes it. It's not actually a bad tone. Let's just drop it down a little bit, just to make sure it's fitting a bit better, so it doesn't just sort of like, it's not constant, and all you're hearing is all the freaking time, because that would have driven me crazy. And when it comes to a mix, I don't really care about anyone else. I write songs for me. I get mixes done for me, and if anyone else likes that, then great. If they don't, I'm not really too bothered. Because I started this band as a songwriter. And those are my babies, the songs that I've created, and it's just about getting the songs out there for me in the best way I possibly could get them out there, and for what.
That's why I think once to see you live. Playing live's always different. The sound live is always different from the sound on the LP. You see, that's why I can't wait to see yourself and Imperium live.
And let me just reiterate, Simon, this is not a free gig.
No, I know that. Don't worry, you'll get money. But yeah, like I said, songwriting, musicianship, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. I've no issues. That was just my little thing that I took away.
Take that as a win. Take that as a win, Dan.
I'll take that as a win.
Yeah. Which is why I was asking so much before about. I mean, to do that over 3 years as well. Like I said before, it's impressive to keep.
It doesn't sound like it took that long. Yeah. It does not.
No. If you came round and said, 2 months, 3 months, and it's consistently the same all the way through. But like to do it over 3 years, like I said before, is.
I think that's testament to Andy, really, more than anything else. I think he's just a fantastic engineer and producer, really. And it helped that we had Patrick W. Engel as the masterer, who sort of gave us the feedback as we were going through. Like, that needs to be a bit louder. If we're going for old school thrash, then that needs to be a bit drier, or the treble needs to be a tad higher here.
Which is kind of what I was saying before, but dry is a good use of that. Description.
Dry and raw is exactly the sort of thing we were going for this album. We wanted something that was just dirty and no faffing and that sort of just something that would give you that thrashable feel. And I feel like we've succeeded in doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard the first album either.
Don't expect second album quality from the first album. That's all I can
say. Dan, close your ears. Yeah, Simon, don't expect.
All right, okay.
Play something we know.
Right. This month's classic is what Paul loves. Mid-90s rock. Right in his wheelhouse. He absolutely loves this stuff. Dirty, sleazy. First album was Blackout in the Red Room. Second album, which is what we're listening to this month, is Wasted in America. The band is, of course, Love Hate. I absolutely adore the album, which is why I've picked it. It has a bit of everything on this for me. You can, again, hear their influences. But songs, catchy, great riffs. The drums are brilliant. I think the guitar is brilliant. Sleazy rock is what you want. This is what it's got. And I've got very fond memories of seeing these live and injuring the bass player when he jumped into the crowd and they had to cancel the rest of the gig, the rest of the tour, because we dislocated his shoulder and apparently he couldn't carry on playing.
Just get on with it, do you know what I mean? Like, just get on and play, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
exactly. That's what I thought. I know. Yeah, so you had 50 people try and pull you one way, and the security guards trying to pull you the other.
Exactly, just get on with it. You know, who cares about being hung, drawn, and quartered?
Exactly. So yeah, that memorable night, and then I had another memorable night when I got on stage with them, and the singer passed me the microphone to do the song with him, and it was a brand new song, and I didn't know the words. I just went, and I just had to jump back in the crowd and never go on that stage again. So there you go. So Dan, we're going to go to you first. What did you think?
I feel like it's a sort of thing my dad would really enjoy. For starters,
yeah.
I quite enjoyed the riffage. The riffage was quite good. I feel like his vocals, the vocals in Love Hate, are really cool. Don't think much of the artwork. I'm going to be that guy now.
Oh, you can't do that.
You can't do that, no. But I struggle to find anything in this album that did anything different from other albums that were pretty much similar to it in that vein anyway. Don't get me wrong, it was really good, and what I was hearing I was sort of like vibing with, and it had a good feel to it. But I don't know, I just couldn't grab anything from it that made me go, damn, this is like classic metal to a different degree. But nah, it was good, and I'd listen to it. So count that as a win.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I am doing it because I've got a feeling the other two are going to despise it. So, but just having a good time with it. That's what that
is. It was a good time.
Just turn up, have a good time, get on stage, don't know the lyrics, jump back in the crowd, and try and hurt yourself doing it. So that's all they were when we were watching them. So yeah, Paul, what do you think?
Wank.
Neil.
That's a fucking shite. No, I'd only ever heard Blackout in the Red Room. I'd never heard this album before.
All right.
I got to, what's the track? Cream. Fuck me. What a load of fucking shite that is. It is everything I despise in bloody sleazy. It's like fucking Steel Panther, Motley Crue, Hanoi Rocks. That's probably doing a disservice to Hanoi Rocks, actually, because they weren't too bad. Poison, all that kind of poncy, shitty hair metal crap. These are about 5 years too late for a start. But yeah, after I got to Cream, I turned it off.
Oh wow!
Simon,
look at that. Do you
know that song was just
I've listened
to
a toilet roll for your tears.
Listen, I didn't write it. I've no skin in this game.
Yeah, and what's even more annoying is that next March, Jizzy Pearl is playing this album at the fucking Patreon. I'm gonna have to go and photograph it.
God. I'm going to come down and stand next to you and sing all the lyrics into your ear.
I don't think you have to, do you? You just said you didn't need to know the lyrics.
Yeah, I didn't know the lyrics.
No, that was the third album.
I see.
That was the third album. Not
I promised you peaches, but I gave you cream, whatever it was. Crap. Honest to God. Yeah, dreadful.
That's fantastic.
I'd rather have boring any day.
Yeah, well, you've got it in spades. Don't worry about that. Neil, come on. You can sign it off now as well.
As I was listening to this album, I was wondering, what genre is it? So I checked on Spotify, and it said, it's fucking awful. Honestly, it is dog shit. I knew the track Blackout in the Red Room. I knew the track Wasted in America, and I knew the name of the band.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was I was shocked at how bad it actually is. When you say you can hear the influences of their influences, who are their influences? Fucking what? Who are their influences? Yeah, just who, Simon?
Well, I don't feel like there's any point going through the
Because you
influences
don't
right
know.
now,
And I take issue with two things. One of them calling this a classic. It's fucking not.
it's a classic.
Well,
to
that
me.
doesn't count. It has to be a classic, and I decide, and it's not a classic.
No, it doesn't have to be a classic. It's a classic.
And secondly, this is not sleazy. It's not sleazy. It doesn't feel dirty. It doesn't feel sexy. It doesn't, like I said before, when we were talking about Thunder getting a Volavant and not getting pregnant or whatever. There's nothing sleazy about this whatsoever. No.
There is. There is. There's filth all over.
There might be filth all over your album cover, but I did listen to it all. But I've got to say, this is the worst album. And we had I Prevail, didn't we? It's the worst one you've brought, certainly. Honestly, it is, pal. It is terrible. Well, which is
not. I think it. I genuinely think it's just got you all on a bad day.
No.
I know it has. It's hit you all on a bad day. Because it isn't that bad. It's awesome.
My review was brilliant compared to what just got said.
For a start, unlike some of the bands you brought, Neil, they can play in time.
Right, so come on, please back up that statement and tell me what bands that I have brought that you do not think played in time.
Black Rain.
What a ridiculous statement. Neil has left the conversation. Honestly, you're being a baby now. Just accept it. You're allowed to like shit stuff. I like shit stuff. But
I love the things I love.
Yeah, it's bad that.
It's not bad.
Is it Sum 41 bad?
Sum 41 are all right.
So there we go. 4 albums done. Different opinions on everything. Well, I've got something to add. I am thinking of leaving this podcast and everything we've set up because I have created a marsupial fighting game for the entertainment consoles. Can any of you guess what this game might be called?
Go on.
Mortal Wombat.
I knew it. I knew that was coming.
I think with a joke like that, you should leave. At least for that.
Da, 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 da.
So hello once more. I am here in the metaphorical rocking chair to sum up and look back and think about what we have just heard. We had some different opinions this time. It's all good. That's what we're here for. Thanks very much to Dan. He was very forthcoming about the process of recording an album. It is, I think, very interesting. He's a nice guy too, isn't he? I am speaking the morning after Thrasher, and I can confirm the event was fantastic. I can confirm Thrasher Wolf were fantastic, although sadly Dan did not do the Eastenders theme tune. I can also confirm that Simon has not yet paid me for his ticket. Thanks once again for your time. Please listen to all the bands mentioned, as to be honest, this is why we do this. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you could share, like, subscribe, it really helps get the word out for us and all the bands we mentioned. If you have an opinion on any of the records that we have mentioned, please let us know in the comment section. It's brilliant to hear from you. That's it. Cheers. See you next time. Awesome. Stay awesome. Awesome.